Huge Movie Fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming at you to review a movie that I never necessarily intended on seeing, but one that I nevertheless ended up seeing. I'm coming at you to review Us. Now basically, I think it was a couple years ago or whatever, Get Out came out. It was this big, huge thing and this and that and stuff. And I did end up seeing, I think I reviewed that as well. And I didn't hate that movie, although I don't think it's something that I ever feel like I never need to necessarily own. I'm not too keen on, I don't really plan on ever needing to see that movie again. This one though, I actually do kind of plan on buying at a reduced price, either it's a sale price or previously viewed copy at some time in the future. I actually really liked this movie for several reasons, of course, is which I'll talk about in this particular review. Overall, let me just say that I really just like the overall feel of this movie. I was really surprised, and I went into this movie, of course, with pretty much low to next to no expectations, just killing some time, and I came out of it just like, well, even before even before it was over. I mean, right away, it was just like, wow, I really like the world that this movie creates, and just the overall style of the movie is actually pretty impressive for a movie coming out these days. And just before I start the review, I basically just say that as a whole, I was really pretty much more or less impressed with this movie. It begins with this blurb about like this and that about underground tunnels or whatever. Then this camera in 1986 zooms in on this tube TV and showing some kind of thing. I don't know if they did this or not, and for real, 1986, with this hand stretched across America. I can't remember exactly what they call it or whatever, just to raise awareness for this or that or some kind of crap, one of these many useless crap things that, whatever organizations and shit do and stuff throughout the years and months and weeks and days and stuff like this. Hands Across America might be what it's called or whatever. It's just we kind of don't really know why we're seeing this at the beginning of the movie. Of course, as the movie wears on and it comes to a close and stuff like that, it all makes sense. That's what's kind of cool about this movie. It does subtle things throughout the movie that, you might not know why you're seeing it at the time, but, bits and pieces that all come together, as the movie wears on and as it wraps up and stuff. So that's kind of cool. A lot of times these days, there's not so much subtlety in movies. It's just like, making movies just for idiots, and we just put everything right in your face because they assume that, the idiots aren't going to understand it unless we just put it in your face. So that's why I like this movie. So the camera zoomed in on this, this tube TV, this Hands Across America thing. And what's funny to note is this movie is this kind of, although it's not a thing that's featured throughout the movie, it kind of just is more of a thing that plays at the very end of the movie. This movie is a movie about, like, secret or whatever underground dwellers. They're not cannibalistic unless, well, I guess they're eating rat. Well, I guess you're not a cannibal if you're eating rabbit unless you're a rabbit yourself. But they're not cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. They're just humanoid underground dwellers in this movie. But the reason I'm saying this stuff, it's, as I said, it's not a big plot point or whatever, but this movie, at the end of the movie, you will see that, this movie is about, secret areas and stuff where a whole plethora of people are living underground and stuff. So what I'm getting at is, during the zoom in on this tube TV, there's actually a VHS of Chud leaning against the TV, which is kind of funny. It's like the filmmaker's little wink to the audience. And what's so funny is, it's probably the only time that I can remember in a movie seeing a VHS of, in a mainstream, like a movie, seeing a VHS or anything in related to the movie Chud. So as a fan of the movie Chud, I was just like, oh yeah, movie Chud. And at first I didn't know why it was there, but then of course when the movie wraps up and we see the underground and stuff, it all made sense. It should be said that they actually, the production company or whoever actually, acquired that VHS of the movie Chud screwed up, because that particular VHS version isn't the original media version. It's a VHS that was distributed by R&G Video and Star Maker that came out in 1993, which of course the beginning of this movie takes place in 86, so that VHS wouldn't be available until 93, so that's actually kind of screw up. But the way you can tell is the original VHS version of Chud doesn't have this gold trim around the sides and stuff of the spine and the cover and all this, and even the back. I think the Star Maker crap actually made covers look kind of cool, when in fact the VHS sucked and it was recorded in EP mode, and I think what they called QEP, meaning I think quality EP, which of course it's kind of like saying quality, you know, Alzheimer's disease or whatever. Like, there is no quality EP, but as you can tell, I'm getting off on a side note, but that's just an interesting thing to note about Chud and a screw up by the production designer or prop man or whoever acquired that VHS. Of course, they probably figure, well, anyone who probably wouldn't even know what the hell that Chud is, and even if they did, there's no way they're ever going to know that this VHS was from 93 versus 84. So now that I spent way too long talking about the Chud VHS part of this movie, let me get on with the review of the movie. I really love how this movie starts, and as soon as it started at this, you know, kind of creepy nighttime scene in 1986 at this carnival or this fair location in, is it Santa Cruz? It might be Santa Cruz. I think that's the location of where they are. Instantly, I really, or not identified, but I really liked the way that the director, the filmmaker of this movie uses camera and editing. It's filmed in a way that I think that I really appreciate and really like, in a style that, in my opinion, is way underused today, in today's like fast cutting, you know, camera moving all over the place. Camera's just like ADHD and can never just sit the fuck still and just have a static shot and film something. But, you know, it should also be said that, I mean, if more movie, you know, when a movie actually does this, it really, you know, because so many movies are just hyper, you know, editing and hyper camera movement, if a movie does this, it's more, you know, special when if it happens on a more rare occasion. So I guess the fact that this is a rare instance, of course I don't see a lot of new movies, maybe more new movies are doing this than I think, but you know, because it's a rare instance, it makes it even more special and rare. But you know, instantly when this, you know, when the scene started at the nighttime kind of creepy fair scene with this family, this guy and wife and the child, the daughter, I was like, oh man, it's like this uneasy thing about it, even though it's just like, I don't know, it's just like there's something uneasy about the scene. And what ends up happening is this little girl ends up just wandering off on her own and ends up finding this house of mirrors or whatever, and it's this funny in joke that we'll find out later. It's like, find yourself in the house of mirrors or whatever, and of course that's what ends up happening. I'm going to spoil some, but I'm not going to spoil like the, you know, one of the grand climactic things at the very end. What ends up happening, and you know, this, you know, another thing that really lends to some atmosphere at the beginning of the movie is this girl's approaching the house of mirrors in the background, probably from computer generated effects, I would imagine, but done very convincingly. You can just see like lightning back in the clouds in the background. It's just like, ooh, I love that. You know, it starts raining as soon as she enters the house of mirrors, and it's just like a creepy scene. You're just like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What ends up happening, she wanders around the dark house of mirrors for a while, and then she ends up finding like a copy of herself or whatever, and we just see her kind of reaction to it, and her eyeballs bulge out. And then the movie, I'm not gonna do a beat by beat the whole time through, or at least I'll try not to. Then what happens is it cuts to this, it's like the opening credit scene, and I love the opening credit scene, and the music, what I kind of call the main theme of this movie, is just like the music. Oh, the opening credit music, and it comes up, you know, the music comes up, you know, more often in the movie and stuff. It's absolutely phenomenal, and this pull out from this rabbit, it's kind of a Stanley Kubrick and very slow pull out from this rabbit in this cage, and it pull out throughout the opening credits to reveal just this wall of caged up rabbits. And of course we don't know anything about, you know, why we're seeing that until, you know, middle part of the movie, when this character explains that pretty much all they get to eat is, I think, raw rabbit or whatever. So like instantly, you know, before and even during the opening credits, I mean, I'm just aware of how much that I actually just love this movie so far, and the way it's shot and cut, and just the music, and it's just almost like, you know, Paul Thomas Anderson horror movie in a way. I mean, it's not that amazing, but it really is done, compared to so much crap that comes out now. It's really done in a classy way, and I just want to make sure to make that point known. Another thing I don't want to forget to say is, just in addition to just the static shots and the, you know, the use of editing and you know, just the more calmed down, mature version of or more mature way this movie is shot, I also like just the way things look. It doesn't have that appearance of being just, you know, colored time green or colored time, you know, orange or pink or any of that kind of just, you know, early 2000s crap that so many movies did and stuff. you know, it's just like basically what you'd call, or what I'd call, just normal, real world looking stuff. There's even some really sunny days and some blue skies. I mean, the blue skies in movies is something you rarely see. More oftentimes than not, it's like in Marvel movies and stuff, you just see the kind of hazy, geoengineered, just skies just full of crap. And you never really just see blue in movies very often anymore, blue sky. And this movie's actually got some blue sky and sunny days at the beach. And I just, you know, in addition to just the way the movie's shot and cut, you know, the music, I also love just the how the image looks in regards to, I don't know, just color palette and contrast and all that kind of stuff. So much of the movie takes place, I guess the bulk of the movie, the middle part, takes place at night, and I really like the cinematography. I mean, obviously this movie is probably shot digital, I would imagine, but this is a case of, although I prefer, 35 millimeter movies, I mean, I will, I don't know if I really said it on this channel, but I mean, there are occasions, and this movie included, where, digitally shot movie can look good. Another thing I want to mention about this movie is the family. You got, mom, dad, and, sister and younger brother. I love the family. I love the dynamic about the family as we're introduced to the family. Mom's pretty hot. I can remember, I don't know if she's been in something else that I saw or not, but she's pretty nice to look at. I love the dad in this movie. He's just kind of like goofy, He's almost just like, Ed Norton or whatever from Honeymooners. He's just this low-key kind of just likable, fun, just goofy dad who's just really relaxed and stuff. And another thing I like about this movie, as much as I hate to kind of bring up race, but it's something that I think should be said, because it's something that it's a positive takeaway from this movie. So oftentimes is the case in the media these days, in movies and stuff, is if you've got a movie full of, or that with black characters or whatever, so oftentimes is the case is they're just, they act all kind of ghetto and talk black and stuff like that. And, as you may or may not know, I mean, there was this whole, sub kind of culture created for the black people that unfortunately they've kind of embraced this kind of, I don't know what you'd want to call it. I mean, I should say many of them have embraced, not all, which is just kind of the whatever, just the ghetto talk and just the, the ghetto dress and all this kind of stuff and that. And not being a huge fan of ghetto talk and ghetto dress. And it should be said, even if white people do it, which is something you kind of don't see much anymore, which I appreciate. I very much appreciate it when you have a movie like this where the main characters are this, as much as I hate to point out race or whatever, but I'm paying the movie a compliment in this point. So I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, okay to say. I really appreciate that, this movie's black family, if you will, seem to be like upper middle class and just like non-ghetto, and sure, they listen to hip-hop and R&B stuff. That's to be expected. I mean, you don't expect them to be listening to Mozart and stuff, but I really just can't stress enough how much I love the family and the portrayal of the family, and how much the scenes where we introduce the family are some of the funnest scenes in the movie. And to be honest, I kind of would rather have just watched like the family vacation movie with these guys just on a vacation, because when the scary stuff started happening, it was kind of like, oh man, I was enjoying just the goofy dad. It was like kind of like, in a small way, a little bit like Chevy Chase from Vacation, in a small way. Just this goofy dad renting this junky boat that he's got to hammer on the motor to get started and stuff like that. In a way, I was kind of bummed when the scary stuff started happening in the movie, and I just wanted to enjoy this family vacation with this goofy family. So that should be just a little indicator how, in my opinion, the characters are so likable and so, I don't know, realistic and well written, to a point where you just really appreciate and enjoy just watching them. Another thing I don't want to forget to mention is, early on in the beginning of the movie, this young girl, of course, as we come to find out later on, is the mom of this family dynamic that we spend the majority of the movie with. The hot mom is the little girl from the beginning of the movie, and through flashbacks we see that her experience in the House of Mirrors that she experienced from finding her doppelganger herself, I mean, at this point we don't really know what happened, we just saw glimpses of stuff, left her briefly traumatized, and she wouldn't talk, and they had to they don't delve very much into it, but through flashbacks we see that they had to you know, it was maybe a little bit of a while or something. They needed to coax her out of just her, you know, muteness, if you will, and back into, you know, whatever. Maybe we don't, it's kind of creepy that we don't know as the audience what she experienced in the House of Mirrors. Of course, what will, as we watch the movie and later on towards the very end of the movie, we'll come to find out, you know, exactly what did transpire. But throughout the, you know, the course of the introduction of the family and stuff, when we see this hot mom character on her own, we see her having flashbacks about stuff, which informs the audience and gives the audience more information about, you know, her struggle even still now as an adult. And actually, I think they're going back to the same place, the Santa Cruz location, for their little, you know, summer house or wherever the hell they're going to stay for a weekend or whatever, of just getting away from it all on a weekend at the beach or whatever. So cool. So as I said, you know, once scary stuff starts happening that night, or at this one particular night, or before the scary stuff starts happening, we're introduced to like a white family, which is, you know, ironically, you know, the black family's classy, and then the white family's more kind of, I don't know if you know, I mean, they're upper to middle class too, or upper middle class too, but I mean, they just kind of come across as, you know, white trash. They'd be more comfortable just living in a trailer or whatever. It's funny how the white characters are portrayed in a way that's maybe not complimentary or whatever, but they're funny, and I love that bit with the two twin daughters, like, you know, why don't you just pee in the ocean, like jinx, double jinx, triple jinx, and whatever, blackout. I can't remember what the hell they say when they, it was just like, there's so many funny bits about, like, genuinely funny parts of this movie, and just, you know, goofy characters. You guys know me, if you've seen a lot of my reviews, that I really gravitate towards movies with just, you know, funny and eccentric, kind of just goofy, off-kilter characters. And, you know, this movie's got, it's not a big deal, but this movie's got slightly kind of goofy characters and stuff like that. And once we're introduced to the white family with their two twin daughters and stuff, then I think that night or something is when the scary stuff starts happening. And the majority of the movie, as I said, takes place in this at night, and I just love the way, you know, like the ambience, you know, of the movie, and how the night looks, even in the interiors, exteriors, just the night in general is photographed in a great way. But it's, you know, the beginning of the scary stuff happens when they look outside to see this family. It's just like basically in shadow, lit from behind, just standing in their driveway or across the street or something. And you just, like, you know, in the way the dad deals with them, trying to scare them off. And what's so funny is, you know, for the majority of the movie, everyone in the family talks, you know, what you consider me being white just as quote unquote normal or whatever. And what's so funny, when this black dad, well, I guess you gotta say black dad, tries to scare these people off, he kind of veers a little bit into, you know, what I'd kind of more call the cliched black ghetto kind of talk, where the police are already on their way, you know, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this guy is just, oh, I hope I don't know, I think he did comedy in such a great, you know, how comedy these days is just so crappy in my opinion. Like, it was just the subtle comedy in this movie is just so funny, and I love the guy who played this dad. But this is the part of the movie and beyond where I'm not going to delve so much into it. It's, in my opinion, it's some of the least interesting stuff, although it still keeps your attention. Obviously, we come to learn in this scene, and as the movie progresses and stuff, that, you know, these four individuals standing out there, you know, do attack them and break into the house, and we kind of come to realize that these are all like doppelgangers for the most part of the family. The hot mom's got a, you know, twin, the dad's got a twin, he's got more of a beard, and the son's kind of got a burnt face. I think he likes to play with matches or whatever, and the girl's always hopping around or whatever. And one thing, I think the thing I like the least about this movie is, like, the twin or the hot mom or whatever is, like, I don't really like the way she talks. It's just, as a viewer, I found, you know, it's just like over stylized, and the way she talks is it's something I didn't really like very much. But what I thought was cool about the movie is when she tells the family and also the audience at the same time that basically, you know, everyone that lives above ground has an underground, you know, version of themselves to basically, I guess, I think she said, like, control people above ground like puppets. And it should be said that, who knows, I mean, you know, a lot of truth is said in movies and television and music and stuff like that. So who knows, maybe there's truth in this movie. Maybe they're telling us what's really going on under the ground in this movie, or it doesn't even have to be under the ground, but maybe there's a hint of truth in this movie as to, you know, what controls us or whatever. But there should always be, you know, when you get something like this and there's some kind of thing being said in a movie, you shouldn't take it as, oh, that's a cool fiction idea. You should be like, oh gosh, you know, maybe that's truth that they're sprinkling into this movie in some way. Maybe not in every detail, but maybe in some small way. So, you know, as I said, I mean, I didn't find, you know, so much of this expository or so much of this, you know, information being, you know, described to the family and the audience by this woman in this goofy voice. I thought was kind of hard to get through and hard to listen to, but whatever, it gets the job across. And after she's done explaining stuff, you know, all of which I won't spoil, she has the hot mom handcuff herself to the, you know, whatever, some kind of table in the living room, and then like it's basically, you know, these people are, this woman, I guess, the twin of the hot mom is started this revolt of everyone underground to basically come up from underground and, you know, basically kill, because there's, like, as she says, one soul in two bodies. So what she wants to do is basically have all our, you know, all the doppelgangers underground come up and kill the, you know, the twin and take over their life or whatever. And it's just, that part is just like, oh, whatever, it doesn't really interest me or whatever. And what's kind of cool is, you know, oh, what I was saying is that, you know, the twins are basically, you know, you have to kill your own twin. Like, you're not supposed to, from what I can take away from this movie, like, you know, hot mom, twin, supposed to kill hot mom and dad and so on. You know, you got to kill your own or whatever to take their place in the world or whatever. This is the kind of stuff that to me isn't really that important or whatever. So I don't know, maybe the next 30 minutes or so is kind of cat and mouse. I mean, it's, you know, I don't know, I don't know if I'd really call it uninteresting. It definitely holds your attention, but I mean, the next 30 minutes or so are maybe just cat and mouse stuff with the twins trying to, you know, the doppelgangers trying to kill the real people and this and that. And they come up with some cool gimmicks. And what's really kind of more funny is, you know, when we actually cut to the White family and we see that what's so funny is the doppelgangers of the White family pretty much just instantly, like, kill everyone in the White family almost instantly. And it's so funny that the Black family is, like, so hard to kill. You know, I'm surprised Steven Seagal isn't a part of the family, but he's white, so I guess. But he could be adopted anyway. It doesn't really matter. But the scene, you know, humor is sprinkled throughout the movie. It's not like when horror starts, it's just nothing but horror. And that's one of the things I actually really like about it, because, you know, going back to Hitchcock and stuff like that, I mean, even just because horror is happening doesn't mean you can't have humor in it as well. I do kind of think that as much as I like horror for horror's sake, I really do think that horror and comedy, or horror and humor maybe is a better way to put it, is a really, really kind of a complementary combination. So I don't think I'm really going to bother with saying any more of what happens in the movie. I'm definitely not going to spoil the grand crescendo or the grand, you know, the way the movie pans out or whatever. I think I pretty much talked way too much about this movie anyway, and probably more than I planned to. I'm going to give us 3 stars out of 4 stars. I was really, really, really impressed by it. As I said, it's something that I plan to own in the near future for as less as possible of paying for it as I can. It's another thing that I want to mention is, you know, as much as I like the, you know, cinematography and the way the movie looks, I think they're kind of orangish / reddish, you know, whatever coveralls things they wear with the brown kind of driving glove and the scissors. I think that kind of look that was, you know, come up with, or that was made for this movie of these individuals to be wearing was kind of a cool look, and you know, that color of those overall things that the characters wear looks really good in the nighttime low light situations, and even looks good in the daytime situations, come to think of it. But I'm not necessarily completely crazy with, like, the last act of this movie that happens underground. It's kind of, I don't know, I can't say that it's bad, and also the thing that we come to learn at the very end of the movie, the little bit of information we come to find out at the very end of the movie. I mean, I can't say that it's bad. I mean, I guess I'm divided about it. Like, I don't know if I like it or if I don't like it. I mean, I guess it's something to be expected, you know. I guess it's a kind of a wink at the camera, and of course the very, like, last shot where it's helicopter shot and it's just seeing all these people, arms across America. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's done. It's conceived and executed well, and it's, that's why I give this movie 3 stars, because it's just like, oh wow. But as I say, I've got mixed feelings about like the end and just certain elements of the end and things we come to find out at the end. It's just like, oh, kind of give me a break, but at the same time kind of cool. So thank you very much for watching my review of Us. Feel free to let me know what you think, if you've seen the movie, or if you don't plan to see the movie, or your thoughts about this movie in general, if you got questions or whatever in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, we'll catch you next time.